Hi there, I'm Chris with Datamaker. Let's take a look at the Datamaker app and how it functions and all of its tools. So when you first open Datamaker, you will see this screen, which is our Coder screen. And we can access Assistant and Coder here. So Coder is a tool for creating code, and Assistant is for doing research and creating copy and so on. We've got our menu here, and we can open up, get to Coder and Assistant from there. We can get to the guide, which takes you through all of the features that I'm going to take you through now. We've got a prompts list here, which we're gradually populating with ideas for prompts, and we'll talk about what prompts are in a minute. We've got our account access here, so we can update all of our account details. We've got our support features here, so you can either send us a support message or you can join our Slack channel for support and then log out. Okay, so let's jump into Coder and go through all the different parts of Coder first. So we can see here we've got our input, we've got our instructions, we've got our history tool, saved code, and then over here we've got our code preview. But what does that actually mean? Okay, so instructions are where we start. Now, instructions are where you ask the tool to do things. The input is where you iterate on those instructions, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. And then our code will preview here. Our history shows up a list of things we've asked it to do and the code it's produced. Obviously, we've got no history yet, and we've also got no saved code yet. So let's create some code. So first of all, let's just write a very simple thing. Let's just write show alert hello world. Okay, so I'm going to ask the AI to write something that shows an alert that says hello world. So we'll click go. And it hasn't written that at the moment. It's written just a comment. So let's say write JS to, and let's redo that. So now we've got a little bit of JS script that when the page loads, we can show an alert. And we can quickly just give that a try. This doesn't work with everything, but in this particular instance, it will. So if I just put script tags here and hit go, we should see this in action. And there we've got it. It's showing a hello world alert. Okay, so now we've written some code. Let's see what the tools actually can do for us. Well, over here in our code preview, we can hit the save button and we could save this piece of code out, give it a name. I'm going to just call it tester, hit save, and now it shows up in our saved code. So if we write a really good script that we want to keep, we can save it here. We have a delete function here with a little bit of security or protection from deleting accidentally. So you have to click twice. And then we can click on the preview here, which will show us what we put into the input, what we put into the instructions, and what the code result was. We can also copy the code. So when we click this will actually copy the code. And I can see that it's copied the code because if I paste it in there, then it's copied the code. Great. So we can save, we can copy the code directly from here. And then if we take a look at our history, we can see now in our history, we've started to populate the history with what we've done. So if we make a mistake or we want to go back to something, we can go to any state that we've created here and we can see what we wrote. We can see when that was, the timestamp, and we can also see what the input was, and we can see also what the instructions are. So we can see the results of those as well. And we can save them out from there and, of course, delete them as we're going as well. So I've just deleted our history so that we can start fresh. Now I can reset these boxes here. Don't need to reset this because this will reset as I'm going along. And that's basically how the Coder system works. We also can change our theme here if we want to a different code style for the syntax highlighting. But that's basically how it works. But let's do something a bit powerful with this, or a bit useful, a bit more useful than just showing an alert. So here I've got a Webflow page. I'm just going to resize. I'm going to resize this here. And I'm going to delete that as well. Doesn't want to delete. There may be a bug or two in here. This is beta. There we go. Got there eventually. I was obviously clicking the wrong thing. Okay, so here we have a typical page. We've used Relume sections to put this page together. We'll come back and put some copy in this in a minute. But we're going to take a look at this banner here. So something you might want to do with Webflow is create a banner. When it's closed, you want to store a cookie to say that it's closed. And for that cookie to make sure that that banner doesn't show up for 30 days, let's say. We could do that with a modal. We could do that with anything. So that's just a simple example. So how would we actually do that? Well, back in our Coder tool, we want to give it an instruction. So I'm going to copy and paste an instruction in here. And the instruction is based on, what do I want to do? Well, I've got my button here, and that's got a class of banner 10 close button from Relume. And then I've got the component, which is called banner 10 component. So my script, I'm asking it to write a JS script that when an element with a class of banner 10 close button is clicked, to store a browser cookie called banner closed. So this is the prompt. This is the instruction. This is what we're telling the AI to do. Now, you may need to experiment a bit with how you word this, but this is just a simple example on this. But it's certainly way quicker than going and searching for the answer somewhere else. Okay, so let's hit go and see what it generates. So here we go. We've got the script written here, and we can see that when that's clicked, it's going to create a cookie called banner close true. That's great. Now we want to iterate on this, and this is where the input comes in. So I'm going to copy this code here, and I'm going to paste it into our input. I'm going to remove this comment. We don't need to remove the comment, but I don't need it in there, so I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to put our next piece of instruction, our next input prompt in. So I want to use this as the basis, and I want to add to it. So I'm putting, I've copied this in here, and then I've got my instruction. Okay, so now I hit go. And see, what I'm telling it now is I want to make the cookie expire 30 days after it was created. Now, currently what it's done is it's saying, okay, yeah, 30 days after today. But obviously we don't want every cookie to be stored 30 days after actually today. We want to the cookie to expire 30 days after it was created, whenever that was, whatever point in the future. So let's just run that again. And this is where the experimentation comes in, because we're not quite getting the thing that we want here. So make the cookie expire 30 days after it was originally created. And nothing changed there. Make the cookie expire 30 days after that. Okay, so now we've got a change here. So now we've changed some of the wording. We've seen that we've got, this is going to set the date now of when that banner is going to expire programmatically. So we needed to run it a few times, maybe change some of the wording, and it'll get different results. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So we need to just iterate a little bit more on this now. So now I'm going to use that code again. So I've copied the most recent code now because this is what I want to work with. So I've copied this, popped it into our input, and I'm going to give it a new instruction. So now this instruction is going to be working on the actual banner itself. So in this instruction, I'm saying if the cookie is present, hide the element with the class banner 10. So let's hit go. And there we go. So now we have our script that hopefully we haven't tested it in Webflow yet. So if I click this button, then it's going to set a cookie that expires after 30 days. And if it is present, that cookie is present, then it's going to hide that banner. And then after 30 days, it'll destroy the cookie. So let's copy that code and let's go into Webflow and go into our body here. I'm just going to put in script tag. If I could type. I'm not one of these guys that can type super fast, like you see some tutorial videos and the guys are typing super fast. I'm sure they even spell today either. Okay, so here we have our script in the page. Let's see what it does. I'm going to publish the site. And let's just open up, once we've opened this page up, let's also open up our inspector and go to our application, and we want to search on our cookies here. So currently this page has got no cookies. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to close the cookie there, close the banner, and let's just refresh. And there we go. Our cookie has been saved. We called it banner closed. So here's our cookie sitting there. And if I refresh the page now, it hides the banner for us. If I delete that cookie and refresh, we can see that our banner is showing again. So in this simple example, we've seen how we can use the instructions, how we can iterate on those instructions using classes from Webflow to interact with our Webflow elements. That's a really powerful tool. Now, you will need to have a bit of an understanding of what you want to do and what you want to achieve. But as you can see, through iteration and experimentation, you can very quickly create the code you need. This is a very simple script, but there's loads more you can do with this. So try it, experiment. We'd love to hear your experience with it, but it's an extremely powerful tool. Let's go on and take a look at Assistant. So in Assistant, let's go over to Assistant. What does this interface actually do? It's quite a simple interface once you get your head around it. And we've built it to be as useful as possible. We use both Coder and Assistant on a daily basis. So we've rebuilt multiple times to make sure it's as useful for us as possible, and we hope you have the same experience. I'm sure you will. Okay, so let's just have a look around the interface. We've got our prompt area here. So we saw with the previous tool with Coder how the prompts work. In this instance, though, we're going to be creating content. We're not creating code. So we're writing copy and doing other tasks with copy and research and so on. So that's where the prompt goes here. We've got a scratch pad down here, which is really useful for when you've written content, you want to use it, iterate on that content, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. This is really useful to paste in, and the content will just sit there until you replace it with something else. So you can, whenever you come back to this, the content still sits in there. And then we've got a saved prompts, which is similar to the saved code, where this will actually store the code, the prompt that you put in, what it created, and the settings, which brings us on to settings. So the settings over here will interact with your prompts, your requests, and they will create different results. Obviously, max length is going to be pertaining to how many characters or how many words come back, but it's not actually, it won't right to, for instance, we've got 441 words showing there at the moment. That doesn't mean it's going to come back with exactly 441 words. It means that's the maximum amount of words that it could come back with. Then we've got a randomness or a creativity. So how risky, how much creativity is going to be in this? And then we've got probability. So those two affect the creativity, or is this going to match exactly what you've requested? Or are you going to give the AI a little bit of freedom to make some choices? And then the frequency, how frequent do you want words to be in the content that you want? And then the presence. Now, the presence is an interesting one because the presence sets some variables to do with where the AI is and time of day and so on. So you can nuance the content that's created. We don't use presence much, but it's there. In the guide, you can find a lot more information about it. And if you click on one of these little information tags, you'll get some more information on it. So let's take a look at what we can do with it. Over here, I've got my Webflow demo, and I'm using a Relume here. Relume's really great because it gives you some idea of what content should be in the sections. So let's see if we can write some content using what they've written. So this needs to be a headline. So we'll type write a headline that, change that to resonates with the visitor's problem. Okay, but we need to give the AI some context. What is the problem? So let's put in here that the problem don't know how to code, and the solution is okay. So let's leave our max length where it is. Let's just go with that. Let's see what it creates. Okay, that's an interesting result. Let's write a ooh. Yeah. So to Aaron, this would be an uncut video inspirational headline that resonates with the visitors. Okay, let's try that. Okay, now this is what it's given us. Unlock your web development potential with Webflow. Take that first step today. That's a great headline. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put it into my Scratchpad to just keep it there, and I'm going to pop that into my headline. Now, with that piece of content, I'm going to remove the prompt and create a new prompt. So I want a paragraph or some information about what I've just written. So now I'm going to say, write a sales paragraph and then we will use this. We're going to use what's in our Scratchpad to create the paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to turn the max length up and hit go. And I've got my paragraph here. So this is great. Possibly a bit long, but it's really well written based on what I've given it. And you can give as much information as you want here. So I'm going to save that now. So I'm going to save that Webflow intro paragraph and hit save. Now that's sitting in my save prompts. And if I click on the preview here, I can see what I've called it, what the prompt was, what the result was, and also all the settings I used here. So if you want to redo those prompts, then all the settings are there to remind you. Okay, so this text is great, but it's a bit long. So I'm going to paste it into here. and then I'm going to say condense this down to less than 40 words. Okay, so let's run with that. It's not liking something there, so let's just run it again. Let's take something off here and condense this text. Take out down there. There we go. So now it's read this text, it's understood it, and it's now said create stunning functional websites fast with Webflow's easy-to-use interface and intuitive visual editor. No coding required. Get started now. Now, obviously, the AI has understood what Webflow is and has already gathered lots of data on that. So the AI knows a lot about the subjects that we're writing about. And so it's able to create this great text for us. I would say that you always need to human read the text. Don't just create it and pop it in. And I'm going slower than you could possibly do when you're working with this, because obviously I'm explaining things as I go along, but this is super fast. Now let's try something else. So we've got our condensed text here, okay, and I've got in my scratch pad, I've got that original heading here. Now I'm going to ask the write a Google. I really cannot type. Google page title and based on this. Yep, that's all good. Let's just pop it up a little bit there to see what it comes back with. Ooh, I didn't use the word right there, but it picked up on my spelling mistake and did it anyway. So here's our page title. Unlock your Webflow development, create stunning pages, but it's added some more to it as well. And it's combined this to make a really great description. Now, this is a really simple example of what you can do with it, but you can create pretty much anything. Let's just take a look at one more example. So I'm going to say, write a full menu with prices and ingredients for a burger bar. Now, this feels like a big ask, but the reason why this becomes really powerful for Webflow is when you're creating templates or you're creating content, sometimes you need large amounts of content, you need starter content, you can go and trawl the web for it. But let's take a look and see what this does. Let's bring the probability down, and let's hit go. And this again is just a small example. It does so much more. You just need to experiment with it and ask it. Here we go. We've got a burger menu. This is great. We've got everything we need now to get on with making that burger menu template. And there's just so many uses you could use for this. We're going to be showing you more. I hope that this video has just given you an idea of the power that you've got. Now, there are lots of AI tools out there at the moment that write copy and so on, and they're all very good. The problem with a lot of them is that they don't give you the freedom to write the prompts that you want. They've got prompts in them and they create great stuff, but they're a bit of a closed walled garden here. But with our tool, with Coder and Assistant, you can write the prompts to create pretty much any content you want. It's amazing what these tools can do. We're really excited to see what people do with them, what we do with them. We use them, as I said, every day. So thanks for watching this video. I know it's been a bit long, but I really hope that from this video, you're inspired to see how powerful these two tools can be in your Webflow workplace. Rewind, workflow, not workplace.